to get a read of the room, right? How many of you use like some form of Gen AI on a daily basis in your work? Okay. Okay. And how many of you are like you? How many among those are using Gen AI in a highly specific and specialized way? Okay. What is it that you use Gen AI for? Game art, and you're working with what? Midjourney? Stable diffusion. Okay, 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 cool. So like highly specific stuff like that. Then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to lean on you sometimes during the presentation just to give you, experience and stuff, because Gen AI is like so like vast that one person's not going to be an authority, right? So it would be good if we can all kind of just pitch in and collaborate. Let's just keep the session relatively interactive and free flowing. I don't want it to be like, us sitting here and giving gyan, right? Okay, great. How many of you have never used any form of Gen AI at all? Okay, so everybody is relatively familiar with at least some GPT-3 or, Bing or something like that, right? All right, great. Okay. I am going to just make one request, just once. And if you don't want to do it, that's totally okay. I'm just going to request that those of you seated like right at the back, I know I'm a backbencher. I understand the psychological advantages of sitting in the back bench. It's very comforting. But if you guys could move forward, I'm not Mrs. Abraham. Just if you could move to the tables up front, because it's just easier. It's a workshop. It's easier for us to interact and communicate if I can actually, see you guys talk and so on and so forth. Also, when you talk, it's easier to hear. Okay, here we go. Wait, I have to kill my phone. Just a sec. Okay, thanks for coming. Good morning. Everybody enjoying IGDC so far? Yeah? Anyone not enjoying IGDC, please? We've been organizing the conference for some time. Track curators never enjoy IGDC. So that's okay. That I already know. Is there anybody who is having a bad experience? It's important to understand, right? Like a terrible experience. This is the worst conference I've ever been to. No? Yeah, it is comforting, I will tell much, yeah. Okay. What we'd like to do in today's session is to explore the different ways in which for product managers, and actually not specifically for product managers, the beauty of Gen AI is it allows anyone to perform tasks to a certain degree of skill and efficacy, right? What I would like to do is to focus on we'll spend about 20 minutes talking about how to approach Gen AI in principle, how to think about using Gen AI, and then we will do some exercises together. You guys can do it along, we'll all do it together on the board and so on and so forth, just to see some examples of how at least Ishwar and I have been approaching it. Now what? Yeah, so that's us. We've been working in games together and separately for a very long time. We've worked on games together at Zynga, and then Ishwar moved on. Ishwar you were at Zynga for a much longer time, no? So Ishwar's worked on some incredible titles like CSR and Mafia Wars, which I worked on briefly, and the Farmville franchise. I moved on from Zynga and then worked at Tiny Mogul Games and Hike Messenger to build games for the India market, built 20, 30 really cool mobile games there. And then I moved on to start my own company where we do games for impact, and we were doing games for social emotional learning for children. And then we moved on to making games for literacy. We're also doing a bunch of stuff for games for impact, games for learning, for training and things like that. That's us, that's what we do, and that's not the core of this session, so we will quickly move on. Thank you. Do you want to add some gyan, punch dialogue, anything of the sort? No? Okay, cool. Right. So I want to kind of start by just telling you a little bit about my personal journey, right? It was my first brush with what Gen AI could do. I mean, there's a lot of talk about it and ChatGPT and this and that, and I was always on the periphery thinking I've always been interested in new tech. But I never got around to actually doing anything about it. I was at the smoking lounge in Dubai airport. I was just waiting for a flight, and I'm one of those paranoid people who goes early to the airport, especially in international travel, right? So I got there, I was super early, I went to the smoking lounge, just hanging around there, and I said, okay, now I have some time, let me check this out. And I created a scratch comic, Batman comic, on a 4G connection on a mobile device in 45 minutes flat, a page. Anyone who's worked in comics knows that to get a page of even this fidelity, it's not that high fidelity, but to get that fidelity will take you at least 2 to 3 days. Right? Script, rough pencils, finished pencils, coloring, inking, lettering. At least 3 days with a top class artist like Raj Gole or some such, top class artist, 3 days. 45 minutes flat. And my mind was blown. So I'll take you through the process, right? I'll just show you the panels. I was just like hypothetically thinking, okay, we'll put Batman in my hometown of Chennai and see what happens. So the text is mine, but all the images were on a mobile phone, Bing image creator, which was using DALL-E at the time, right? And this is like a good 6 months ago. The fidelity of the art has improved like out of sight today. Anybody who uses Stable Diffusion, Midjourney will know, right? Even DALL-E 3, it's crazy. It's improved hugely, right? All of those panels in 45 minutes, including iteration. Hey, I don't like this panel. I want another one. The text is mine, but the images were GenAI. And after that, I was like, oh my God, this is incredibly cool. And I could feel the power of what it could do and how much it can charge creativity and how much it can, speed up tasks in the creative spaces. Because I'm a non-technical person. I'm not a programmer. I don't understand programming. I'm not a code guy. I'm a creative guy. And I saw the potential for something it could do. And that made me, put in some time into learning it and figuring it out and just playing around with it, messing with it, classic tinkering. If any of you learned tools by yourself in the pre-internet days, what am I saying? Would be, familiar with that kind of thing, that mode. Every day I would wake up and say, what can I do? Let me try this, let me do that, let me try that. And that has resulted in some learnings, which I would like to share because I see a lot of people making some mistakes in the approach to GenAI, which I would like to address, right? So it's a good question to ask, right? What is the single most important thing to understand from our perspective, non-technical folks' perspective about GenAI is the simple fact that it is allowing us to communicate with machines without having to learn a specialized language. Anybody interacts regularly with microwaves? Microwave ovens? Nobody uses microwave. Which city have I come to? There are people, no, thank you. Have you seen those panels? Do you even understand what those things are? I have no idea. If I have to change a setting on a microwave, it freaks me out. I'm like, no, I would rather go to the gas stove and do it because I can control that. It's all of these buttons and all of this stuff. So I need to understand a special design language to communicate with even something as fundamentally simple as a microwave. There are only two controls in a microwave: the temperature and the time. Why do we have like 20 buttons on the average microwave? It makes no sense, right? But it's a language I have to learn. Similarly, to write code. There have been promises of no-code stuff for at least I want to say, no, more than that. 2000 was the first time when I kind of went to the Flash, Macromedia Director, Shockwave. All of that was no code, drag and drop, much longer than 10 years. There is no such thing as no code, right? Everybody who's ever tried, like designers who, I don't know how to program, but these guys tell me, I can do stuff without knowing how to code. Amazing, right? We have to learn the machine's language. But that's now reversing. And that is profound. And that is the one thing I would like everyone to internalize before we go on to the session. Machines can now understand our language. They do the work. We don't have to do the work. We are free to think creatively, to think about ideas, rather than wondering which grammar I should use or where did I miss a full stop or a caret or a greater than sign, and the machine suddenly has no idea what to do, right? That is profound. So the mindset shift that I would like everyone to consider, it's about a mindset shift, right? Don't focus on tools. Weave it into your workflow. Don't think of GenAI as You have a workflow and then you bolt tools onto it. Think of it as something that naturally fits into your workflow, right? For example, I use GenAI today for my note-taking, for my calendar, I wake up in the morning and I have this tool called Audio Pen. I just dictate stuff. Hey, today I need to do all of this. Please remind me at 6 o'clock, right? Put all of those things in. Then if I'm going to do some documentation work or design work, I just start my scratch. My notepad has become my ChatGPT window. I just iterate, I brainstorm there. Think about, and it's not about, I don't say I need to use ChatGPT. I need to use Audio Pen. It is about workflow and not tools. Because tools are the tool you use today might disappear in like 3 months. That's the speed at which this is evolving, right? So I'd like all of you to kind of start approaching GenAI as just a way of thinking about work, not as tools that you use, right? You can think, and there are a variety of GenAI tools or programs, and you can use it for specialized stuff. Some of them are generalists, some of them are specialists, and you should be thinking about it as a whole. It depends. Some of us don't need highly specialized tools. Some of us do. But don't get stuck on the tool. Look at it as an approach, and when you think of it as a generalist, you will realize there are things you can do with GenAI that you will not think of if you approached it as a specialist. Right? You would never think of asking Raj Gole to draft an email for you because Raj Gole is a specialist. We got to tell Raj, we name dropped him several times at the conference. He's an artist, right? He's like a highly skilled artist, and you're not going to get him to order your coffee. For that, you're going to have some generalists. Hey, can you do this? Can you do that? But GenAI can be all of these things, and I want people to open their mind to that possibility and look for something that could, and ChatGPT is a fantastic generalist. It's a generalist which is approaching specialist levels in some of its capabilities, right? So think of, that should be your mental model. Don't think of it as an integrated approach rather than, think of when you get up in the morning and dress up, you wear clothes. You don't think of those as separate units. You don't think of a shirt as a separate unit with a separate function, and shoes are a separate unit, and glasses are a separate unit. They are. But we don't think of them that way. And that's how I would advise or request or suggest that you approach thinking about GenAI at work, right? The other thing is, interact with GenAI like a person. I'm nice to it. I say thank you, good morning, that was awesome, that was a fantastic job. If that thing is going to take over the world, it better like me, right? I'm just playing it easy. But it's not just that. There's profound things that happen to your psychology when you interact with it that way. Your mind goes into a state where you're talking to a person and you're, hey, can you do this, can you do that? And that has an effect on creative processes. Just be nice or not nice. Treat it as a person. It's very sensitive though. It's like working with, no disrespect, young people, because I'll just be like, hey, and they'll be like, no, I don't want to have this conversation right now. I'm not in the frame of mind for it. And respect to that, but that's how GenAI works. It'll just, if you say one or two things which it deems inappropriate, it'll just shut off and say, sorry, no thanks. But that's okay, it's evolving. So think of AI as a person, interact with it like a person, have conversations with it. And that will give you the best. We'll see more specific examples when we get into the workshop mode. The thing to realize also is, it's important to understand a couple of things, right? GenAI, it's iterative. So don't think of it like a Google replacement, right? Where you ask for, a lot of people I see using workflow like that. Just put in a prompt, you get a result, and then you just take that. But that's not where the power of GenAI lies. It's iterative. You got to think about, okay, yeah, if you were talking to a person, you'd be like, yeah, this is good, but can you change that? And can you kind of make it a little snappier, shorter, longer? Think of it that way, because our muscle memory is so Google, give one input and one output. We don't think of it as a continuous iterative cycle. We think of it as a sequence of input and output, input and output, input and output as a discrete sequence. But if you approach it as a continuous play, like a dance, that's when the potential of what results you can get through GenAI really open up. It's versatile, we've spoken about that. And the other thing is, does anybody know here, the first atomic power plant, the first one, how much power it could produce? Anybody? Take a guess. 16 megawatts, okay. Anybody else? It was enough to power 4 light bulbs. 4 light bulbs. Right? That's like, even if they were 100-watt bulbs, that's 400 watts. And that's where Gen AI is today. This thing is going to explode. Do not get stuck on where it is now. The tools are going to go away. The mindset will stay. So remember that. It's evolving faster than you can imagine. Anybody is using GPT-4? Anybody a GPT Plus user? Do you see where it was 1 month ago and where it is now? That's 4 weeks. Right? And that's from a user, that's what they're releasing. We don't know what's in the labs and in the pipeline, right? So it's pretty exciting. But it's equally important to understand what AI is not. Double check everything the damn thing tells you, right? Because AI is not, at least ChatGPT, this Gen AI, conversational large language models, are meant to mimic humans, it doesn't know what it's saying. So it'll just make up stuff. For instance, I actually went in and put hey, tell me about Anand Ramchandran. And it said, yes, Anand Ramchandran is a game designer, written for Cricinfo, etc., etc. I should have just done this as the intro, damn it. But it did a lot. Then it started making up random stuff. It said Anand Ramchandran is also the writer of some book on, I don't know, millets. And he's one of the great YouTube things. He's got very good channel on YouTube. Dude, it was just random stuff. And unfortunately, Anand Ramchandran is a super common name. There's a guy in aviation, there's an eye surgeon. I know these guys, I feel for them, they have the same name. And they keep showing up on my Google results. But I thought it's mixing up with one of those guys. But no, it was just making up random stuff. It felt like it had to answer. So do not use it as a replacement for Google. Double check. Even with the browse feature, by the way, it makes up links. It said, Rishi Oberoi and I started some studio and made Chota Bheem game. I told Rishi, none of us had anything to do with it. And it insisted that here's the link to the article. That article has no mention of me or Rishi. It's only about the Chota Bheem game. And I asked, are you sure? It said, yes, I'm sure. It doubles down. It's like Trump. Just double down, right? Just say some random shit and double down, even if you're in the Supreme Court of the United States. Double down. It does that. So even with the browse feature, be careful. Okay? It's not... Sometimes when I ask Gen AI to do like really creative things, and when it comes up with stuff, I just want to reach out and say, hey kid, it's okay. Don't bother. It's fine. I'll handle it. It's really sad. Because what happens with Gen AI is the training data, it will regress towards the mean. So it will be okay. It will be competent and all right. But if you want something super original, you're going to have to do it yourself. You can't depend on Gen AI for that. You can depend on it for competent things. It's not predictable. For a variety of reasons. There are controls at the back end which are being changed. Suddenly there'll be some filter because those guys are also panicking, like safety standards, this, that, all of that. So something that works today might just not work tomorrow. In fact, when asking for this picture to DALL-E 3, I wanted to show like bad habits. I had a slide about bad habits and I said, give me a picture of one of those creatures smoking a cigar. And it said, I can't do that. It just said, I won't do that. And I'm like, why? And it says, no, I can't show smoking, right? That's because somebody decided. I've got images of people smoking before, but somebody's decided that no, we should not do that and cut that off. So it's not predictable for multiple reasons. So you cannot depend on it. Remember that. There's a lot of bias in the training data. People know that, right? It's biased towards the training data because the content that has been training on are created by one type of person, right? People like us, people who's English speaking, educated in a particular way from a subset of kinds of background. So it tends to be biased in its training data. So do not expect that the AI will, especially when using it for things like research and ideas and strategy and stuff like that. Remember that you're getting a viewpoint, not the truth, which is true of anything, but especially Gen AI. And while I said treat it like an actual person, it is not an actual person, and it's important to remember that. It doesn't have feelings. It doesn't even understand, as it is today, what it's telling you. It doesn't understand. It predicts what it mimics a conversation, and it does it really, really well. But it's not a real person. So your expectation needs to be, sometimes it'll just lose the thread, and a real person would never forget. Well, I know some people who do, but that's because they do drugs. But it is something that it'll forget randomly, and it'll double down on some stuff. It just, when it kind of loses its grip. So remember that. It is not a real person. Just keep that in mind, right? And so, I would be like, for us, in this context, again, remember, I'm not speaking from a highly technical context. I'm speaking about Gen AI using large language models for product in that scope alone. That's the wheelhouse where I operate, right? If you must internalize one thing about approaching Gen AI as it stands today, it can get you from 0 to 0.9 in the blink of an eye, right? Iterate, like for the images that you see on this presentation, took me about 45 minutes, including iterating. I've discarded like 25 images, and I'm only using a few of them in 25 minutes. Last minute, pretty good. But this morning, it can get you to 0 to 0.9. I can use this in a slide presentation. I can't use this in an animated movie. It's not of that quality. Anything you do except the mundane stuff, hey, write an email, there you're okay. But for genuinely important tasks, that last mile, you're going to have to do the finishing work, is my experience so far, right? It can get you to 0.9 really fast and allow you to focus on the last 0.1. Very important to understand. It can give you skill. I can't draw, but I can put together decent visuals. Some people in my back home in Madras, they can't write in English. They're not, English is not their first language, but it can write grammatically correct emails and reports and stuff like that. It can give you skills that you don't have. And when we go to the demonstration part, we'll see that, right? It can actually augment you with skills you don't have. And that's super, super powerful. It's empowering. It fills me with determination. No, confidence. Undertale fans? Anybody? No Undertale fans? Damn it. Right? And it gives you skills you don't have. Plus, you can, iterate really quickly on anything. I just say sometimes, hey, I have this problem, and how do I approach it? And can you give me some advice? And it'll give you. And then you can just say, what about this and this and this and this? And it'll spit out the answer in like 5 seconds. Even the most experienced consultant is going to charge you a lot of money. And even the act of speaking that is going to take 15, 20 minutes. You get your answer in seconds. Think of how that stacks up. Right? So that's broadly the space in which I feel like if we anchor ourselves, we can move on to the workshop part of the workshop. Cool? Any questions so far? Feel free to raise hands, interrupt. This is a workshop. It's not a talk. So please feel free to pitch in, raise your hand, share experiences, ask questions. Let's just keep it informal, because being formal makes me very, very uncomfortable. Like, fundamentally, it's a character flaw. But okay, so yeah.
And if any of you want to take your laptop and work along, you can feel free to work along. We can come over and help if you're facing any problem. Because what Anand said is very important, right? It's not a tool, it's a workflow. So that means that whatever you do, you need to figure out how do you incorporate. So if you do it once, it sticks much better to you.
So we're going to use only generic GPT over here, but you can follow along even if you don't have a GPT Plus subscription. If you install the Bing app, Bing Chat has all those features. Cool? Okay, so we're going to meet our first minion, which is, okay, you know, we said, how many minions did we say? 10,000. Yeah. There are only 4 in this presentation. Sorry for the oversell. But
Remaining 996 works for these minions.
no, they are there, correct? Oh, macha. Enna or organization. Fantastic, fantastic. Thanks. That was a good assist. But we'll kind of do like a couple of things. So the first one is what we're calling the strategy minion, right? I'm not sure how many of you have actually used GenAI and GPT-4, which we will do now, blah, blah, blah. Dude, I need glasses to see this, but if I wear glasses, I can't see them. Okay. This is just bad. Okay. Hey, in case anyone's interested, this is the way I generated the images. One quick, take a look, right? I say I'm making a presentation for game product managers, etc., right? I can't create trademarked characters. I can only create similar stuff. That's great. And then I say, dude, why is it not scrolling? Oh, yeah, no, it is. Right? It's all in the same chat, and it's all in natural language. I don't have to do any prompt engineering here. Right? This is GPT-4 with DALL-E. We'll go into the details, but it's just, hey, this is why, this is nice, change this, do this. You can see this, right? This entire process. There are a lot of images in there which you didn't see in the deck. So that's pretty cool. Okay, now what we're going to do is, right? Let's come up with, as product managers, let's say you're thinking about launching a new game, right?
Yeah, we'll launch a new game.
And you want a strategy. Some questions, some things questions in your mind as a product manager, right? What should be my marketing plan? Which target audience should I go for? What platform should I do? Etc., etc. So let's come up with a simple brief, right? For a game, some questions, we'll do that together. Then we'll see what the AI can do as a strategy consultant. Works? Extremely valuable, especially for indie developers and studios like that. It'll be amazing. It can do a remarkably good job, right? Okay, so let's come up with, let's see what it can do, right? Let's come up with an idea for a game, a one line. Everybody here is, just a question, how many of you here are like product managers or adjacent business folks, strategy folks? Okay, how many of you are game indie developers? How many of you are designers, creative folks, artists, that crowd? Okay. And how many of you like are students? How many of you do not, students forever, I can buy that. How many of you do not have anything to do with the games business? What do you do? You're in analytics, but do you work in a games company? Wow, that's very cool to, you know, have someone, we normally only see game developers here, that's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, I have nothing to hide. I don't care. I have nothing to hide, and even the things that I want to hide, I don't care. But thanks for that. Okay. Imagine just now it comes, no? You are under arrest for fraud or some shit like that. We're like, oh my God. And then having you guys see the notification will be the least of my problems. So it's still okay. All right.
More appropriate problem might be I have a low D1 retention.
What?
Looking at the crowd.
Well, yeah. Fair enough. Okay, guys, let's come up with, so what Ishu is going to like walk around with you guys, and everybody come come up with some ideas and we'll give some game for which we want to develop a strategy. And once we'll do that here, but each of you on your own can just do your own game and follow a similar process, right? Let's just do it that way. So take a minute, think about stuff, and then we'll like.
The first
put your
person
hands up.
raises hands decides the game.
First person who raises hands decides the game.
Which game? How will you design game from everybody?
Okay,
One input.
Yeah,
Yes.
somebody raised hand. Or were you just like that was just an involuntary. Sorry, over enthusiasm. Yeah. Just Wordle. Okay, but let's Wordle already exists. Yeah. Thank you. So we want to make a PvP version of Wordle. Legit? Now let's make it a little difficult. Give me some additional parameter which makes it a little even more like some constraint for a particular geography or something like that. So a PvP Wordle around the theme of gossip. Celebrity gossip, let's say. Because gossip about me is not going to get players interested. So, okay, great. Player versus player. So for the non-games people over here, PvP means player versus player. Chess is a PvP game, right? But Solitaire is very generous E, but it's a PvE game, right? It's player versus environment or player versus player. Okay? PvP Wordle themed around celebrity gossip. Great. Now, what are the questions in our head? What are the questions as product managers you want a consultant? The AI is your consultant, right? What are the questions that you might want a consultant to answer? What would be the TAM for this? That's research, so that's not the greatest market sizing. Like I said,
Factual.
it's factual. So take it with a pinch of salt. You will have to do that homework here. But what this can tell you is spark an idea of what my market would be
Or
and how to size it.
Yes,
But what those numbers are, we'll get there. But you want to know your TAM. No, great.
how to find the TAM for this?
No, Ishwar, we'll ask it. What is my TAM? Let's do it. Okay, so you want to know the TAM. Okay, and then how to monetize it. Right? How to monetize it. I mean, how to monetize it? Pay to win. But what is the current competitive landscape? We'll do one more. We have time for one more.
Yes.
How do you distribute it? Right? All right, we're going to do this. Now people have to make me talk. Now, does someone want to like come over and frame the question? Let's do it now. What? All right, fine, I'll do the work as always. It feels like I'm at work on Monday.
You're too used to minions.
What? Can everyone in the back hear me when I'm not on the mic?
But for the video,
Oh, Macham, wait. Fine. Sorry? It's mine. Any addition to my costume usually is a positive. So, in that case, I probably have to switch this off, right? Got it. Is the mic working? Okay, fine. Fine, okay, let's just type then. We got, let's say I, and just kind of, am a game developer. I have an idea for a PvP Wordle clone themed around celebrity gossip. Just a question, does anyone here use ChatGPT for this kind of function? Quite a few of you, right? Yeah, okay, great, awesome. Right? around celebrity gossip. I have, and you always give it a role, right? That's the best way to kind of define it. Say, you are a business, you actually don't have to correct the spelling, but it's habit. Consultant with specialization in the games industry.
How many of you actually give a role to the AI?
It's super important. It supercharges the quality of your because the AI, like I told you, it is not really a business consultant. It's not a person. So it has to be told what role it needs to play, right? And that helps it take the right decisions in terms of what that kind of person would say, right? I want you to help me with certain strategic decisions. Remember that this is not prompt engineering. You can write it in whatever way you want, right? In the way that you would speak. Important step. Me any questions you want. Okay, strategic decisions, and I'll just list them out here. One, market sizing. I want to know how to calculate TAM. Two, we had monetization strategy. Monetization. We just invented a new term. Next year, some track. Ishwar. Yeah. Monetization track. Okay? Then we have, somebody want to know how to distribute it.
Competition.
And yeah, competition. Competitive landscape. Right? Always ask it to ask you questions. You want to clarify anything and then answer my questions or something like that, right? Are we good? Let's go. Right? A, if you're not an experienced product manager, this is actually gold. How to go about it, step by step, right? Now, read this. What further iteration do we want? That's not a detailed enough answer. I want more on this. What about if I were you're talking to me, I'm a consultant, and I gave you this answer, how would you respond? That's what I want to kind of take it for a spin. Anybody's got immediate questions? I'll tell you the way I'd do it. I'd just say, that's great. Oh, always positive feedback first. Sorry?
No, it just helps him imagine.
Matters to me. It's a habit. I treat it like a person. If I was talking to a person, it doesn't matter to the AI. It matters to me and whoever else I interact with. Right? Can we do a more detailed exercise on point 1? Ask me, I don't know why you didn't ask questions, very weird. Ask me questions to clarify and help me with a more detailed market sizing exercise. Yeah? Let's see what it says. It's not asking questions, man. Have they? Oh, it is. So when it asks you questions like that, it actually helps structure your thinking. If you're like me, not a structured thinker, right? I tend to be all over the place. It helps define, saying step by step, do this, think about that, and all of this. We've been in like 3 minutes. For an inexperienced business person, it is incredible. It gives me a skill that I do not have. Right?
And even if you're an experienced person, you don't go by a checklist, right? There are a lot of those things that you miss. And having this checklist just helps you make sure that you're covering things that you will normally miss because you're looking at something else. One question might be very high in your attention span, so you'll look at that, but you'll miss out 2-3 questions here, right? So this is helping you at least cover all the bases.
Right? So who is the primary target demographic for this game in terms of age, gender, and location? What do you think? Let's do user demographics first, and let's give it some answers and ask what do we want from it, right? So what do we want? We are trying to make, like, who do we think is the primary target demographic for this game? I would be like, wherever Wordle is played is my target demographic. No. Right? Whoever are Wordle players. Let's see if it can tell us. Right? I don't know. Let's say, see your experience. So you know, it's instinctive to you to slice that. No. Because you just know, Pratik is like so experienced that for him it'll be like, yeah, India, age 22 to 40, this is the target age group, stuff like that, right? But let's assume that we are not. What would be the questions that come to us? Right? Or what would be the answer? I would be like, I don't know, whoever plays Wordle. Right? So I'd be like, I think age, gender, and location is whoever plays Wordle. Can you help me? I'm not sure if I've done the browser plugin. Wordle games tend to be quite broad, but we can narrow it down based on general trends in mobile gaming and word puzzle games, blah, blah, blah. Look. Double check it. If that's how you want to define it. No, different people might define it in many ways. That's why. Yeah. It might. So which is why I said it's 0 to 0.9. You can't take this and make it your business plan. You have to go out and validate it. Do your research. It just gives you a starting point. Like in next to no time, right? It would have taken at least half a day to come up with this. No, otherwise. We are doing it in like 10 minutes, guys. Right? What you said is super important. It is 0 to 0.9 at best. Sometimes it might be 0.5. Right? So, mobile word games are popular, blah, blah. Now it's saying typically ranging from 20 to 50. Right? Strong appeal to both male and female players. Slight skew towards female players. I can tell you this is true from experience. That is actually true. But validate it. Because it may not be. Just because I happen to be here and some of us are here who know the game's business, we can validate it. But otherwise you would not, right? So, location, it says, United States, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia also. And then you also know that, yeah, India is a good market for it, etc. So you can add on your stuff to it, right?
But what it is not taking is, it's not taking how many people are liking the PvP audience. How many people play PvP games?
Yeah, that's what. So, is there... Okay, let's just say, what would the total number of players be approximately? Something like that. No, just ask natural questions. Don't ask, what is the peak DAO of, this is user data, make some, see early 2023, there was some millions of daily players. There's some, it's giving you some information. I'm more interested in the process than in the accuracy of the answers for this workshop, right? For your game's TAM calculation, you could further narrow this down to the segment interested in both word games and celebrity gossip. It's actually telling you that, right? Right?
Hello. Does giving the AI like your entire game design concept help with the approximation, or is it
It
just?
might. It might. The more information you can, actually sometimes they say, in my experience, there seems to be a sweet spot. If you give too much information, it just loses its mind. Exactly like people. Right? You give me very less information, I'm like, okay, I want no more. You give me a little more, I usually understand it better. And then after a point, it becomes like, I don't even know what's going on anymore. It behaves like that. From my experience, I don't know, some of the people in the room may be able to tell you technically why it does that, but I can tell you from experience, it behaves like that. I made it do systems design and all, like combat balancing and all, I've done through. Yeah, we can ask it. What do you want to ask? When
How quickly this game will get to $10,000 MRR?
I'm very interested to see what it will answer. I want to see if it answers the same way that I would answer, but let's see. Your estimation as a reasonable guess, how much time do you think it would take for a game like this to reach a daily, you're saying daily revenue target? Monthly 10K. Let's see, without anything, we'll just put this and see what it says. Right? There's your answer. What's your game? What is your monetization strategy? What are people paying for? What is your engagement list? What is your session per day? What is your revenue per session? You need to know all of that. It will. If I were a consultant, I would ask you for that information to be able to make that calculation, and it's actually doing that. That's not bad, no, Ishwa. I wasn't expecting that. It's not bad at all. Right? And it's giving you a structure. And then if you ask it further questions, it will do. Let's try one thing. Make some assumptions about the design and give me an answer. Tell me what your assumptions were. Let's try. I'm dying to see this. You'll have to double check it, and it's making a lot of assumptions and so on and so forth, right? But it's giving you a framework in 15 minutes. How long would this have taken us without this? That's all I'm trying to illustrate here. I'm not helping you make a Wordle PvP game. I charge a lot of money for that. But
And you don't have to do this for starting a new game. Let's say if you are looking at a roadmap and you want to increase your D30 retention, right? What are the ideas to improve retail retention? Let's say Christmas is coming out. What are the event ideas for my match 3 game team match 3 game with candy theme? What are the things that I can do for Christmas, right? And how do I monetize it? What are the pros and cons, right? And it is giving reasonably accurate pros and cons so that you can think about the design. It's a good brainstorming partner.
Yeah. In fact, we used it for like suggesting combat mechanics, doing like one of our designers, Bhamni, like made an entire social emotional learning conflict resolution RPG just within ChatGPT. Just giving its parameters, generating content. We said what tone to use, who's the target audience. It spat out a playable game. Right? So it can do, but that's the AI, that's the model functioning as a designer, right? This is functioning as a business consultant. But you can see how versatile it is. In fact, we asked it to do some strategic stuff right there. A business consultant might not do that design decision making, but it's able to kind of switch and do that. It's super versatile.
And in fact, you can go back and say that, hey, my revenue per paying user is not $6.
Let's try
it's
that.
$2.
Let's try that.
How do I take it to $6?
I don't know if it'll remember, but let's try that. Because it said, I don't know. Then we said, make some assumptions. Right? Then it's making some assumptions. Let's just say, based on, you said what?
Revenue per paying user.
Paying user. Not monthly revenue, just your monthly, your revenue per paying user is USD 2 and not 6 as you have assumed. Everything else stays the same. See, remember, if you have great Excel foo, you can do this very fast. But for people who can't, I'm not like checking the numbers and all, but it's not about the accuracy of the numbers. You'll have to double check the numbers. It can make mistakes in calculation, but it can make like ridiculous mistakes in calculation. Just saying. Keep that in mind. As of today, in 6 months, this problem might get solved. Because it will then spit out and put it into an Excel sheet and give it to you. Right? Huh?
Not able to scroll, see the next line.
Sometimes, that's because of this stupid Apple, this UI. This nonsensical thing. And now then it kind of glitches out. There, yeah. We can ask it. This is how a workshop should be. Acha, do some design work. No, but okay, I'm a designer. My heart bleeds. But yeah, let's ask it. First, what was the first question you said? Who to build this game? Not even first 5. How are you assuming it's 5? We'll just say what should be the team size and composition. No.
I would play for a LinkedIn plugin which can give me exact people to contact.
It's not far away. 4 light bulbs. But just saying, guys, don't get overexcited because double check. It might be saying absolute nonsense. You have to double check. Like it can supercharge your speed of doing the groundwork. But just don't take this and make it your business plan without running it past someone or checking before. Caveat. What did it say? You don't need a sound designer for this. It's ridiculous. You can just hire it off and do something else. Game designer, yeah. Developer, yeah. Artist. Roles, yeah. It's nice, generic, safe answer. It's saying, you need PM, man. How can you make free to play game with IAP and all without PM? Right? So, it's reasonable. No, because it doesn't know. The more context you give, hey, I am on a tight budget. Is this possible? Is there a way to make the team size smaller? Whatever questions are in your head, just ask. It's a thinking tool. It's a sounding board.
I just have a question. It's able to give for this game, right? Let's say I want to make a shooter. What is the team required if I want to make a shooter? Let's see if it's estimating correctly. Let's just see.
What shooter, macha? Anyway, okay.
I just wanted to see whether it's adaptive.
Yeah, it will, but it might start freaking out about now.
Yeah, because it has all the context of the other one till now.
A shooter. I hope it will say. See, by and large, if you don't want to waste your time, say, ask me any questions you need before giving me an answer. Just so that you don't waste your time with reading through irrelevant answers. Just put that as a necessary step in your workflow. Right?
Perfect.
Those are the right questions for it to ask. Then you say, okay, I am trying to make a, it's exactly like, I don't know, Broforce.
Does it have Bowser?
I don't know, let's try.
Okay.
It's exactly like Broforce. Finished. Let's see. There you go. Boom. All right? Not a bad minion. Knock yourself out. We'll move on to the next one. Enough. Now everyone will go back and do this. I guarantee. So there's no point in anymore. But is anyone following along on your phone? Yeah? Can you share that and say what it said and so on and so forth? Let's just do that.
I tried the initial questions.
Sorry? QA strength. Just like actual execs. It's actually being realistic. And that's not even a joke. It is based on training data. And if historically people underestimate QA strength, which we all know they do, it will behave like that. That's the bias I was talking to you about. Right? It's not going to tell you the correct thing. It's going to give you the average answer.
Yeah. So I was doing the initial questions, like finding the total addressable market, and with me, I got some reports as well. So here I got like the global media market and also the gossip industry is $3 billion. So how do you kind of find people not just who play Wordle, but also who are interested specifically in celebrity gossip and make something where you market to them as well? So that was something interesting.
Nice. You are using what? Bing? Because Bing automatically will browse the web. In GPT, you have to choose that mode till they roll out multimodal. Bing is multimodal fundamentally. So Bing is great, except that Bing has a lot of Microsoft controls in it, which tend to be, that's why I use GPT. Because Bing is like, Microsoft's paranoid, right? So even if there's a word which it feels is inappropriate, it'll just cut the chat dead off. But it's great. That Batman comic I did in Bing only. Yeah.
With a workflow like this, have you seen any differences compared to 3.5 and 4?
I don't do an active comparison. I generally use 4 because I have the subscription, so I can't answer that. You'll have to.
No, for most of the chat stuff, except if you're asking for recent examples, if
Yeah.
you give recent examples, 3.5 is as good as 4.
3.5 cuts off at 2021, right? In ChatGPT, 3.5 cuts off at 2021. Any information, if Broforce was a game that released after 2021, it won't know what that is. But typically for stuff like this, it should not make too much of a difference.
And anyway, we are not using the values. We are only using the structure of thinking. So it should be okay. 3.5 should be absolutely okay.
All right. No, I was looking for coffee, sorry. Okay, now. Not bad, right? This morning. Next thing we'll do is another really useful thing I find, right, is for marketing. For the marketing ideas, for testing, stuff like that, messaging, things like that, right? We'll take the same game that we spoke about, PvP Wordle, with about celebrity gossip, right? And let's just do some fun stuff. We'll try to generate some images, some marketing material, posters, app icons, stuff like that. And also, marketing messaging, like what should an ad be, like for this and things like that, and whatever you might. How many of you work in marketing, user acquisition? Are you an indie developer? Okay, you're with like a studio, a company?
We have cloud infrastructure
Okay.
for developing.
Okay, and you handle marketing for it?
Yep.
Okay, right? So in which case, just chip in and kind of help us with what problems we might want to ask it to solve, right? Okay? What, Macha? You asked for coffee? You are a prince among men. Like this. I already loved you, now I love you even more. Okay. Now what we do is we'll just take the same game so that we can see how it can help us through the life cycle of a game, right? So we have an idea, now we know what it's going to take to build it, how much money we're going to make, so on and so forth. Some idea. Let's assume that we've taken that and run with it and done the homework and we've got it. Now we'll just go back to, I will use with DALI, right? And in multimodal, you don't have to give fresh context. I could have continued in the same thing. Here I'm going to have to give it context again. But let's just try some stuff, right? Let's just say, let's give it context first. We are a games studio. We are about to release a game that's like a PvP version of Wordle, right? Jeez. Wordle. Themed around celebrity gossip. Right? We'll just give it only that information. You can also say our target audience is so and so, this age group, this gender, and stuff like that. So just to save time, so that we don't have to go through that again, I'll assume we have the information. Let's give it that information. The target audience is between ages 20 to 50 in English speaking markets. People who enjoy puzzle games and celebrity themed content. Something like that. Right? What do we want it to do? What's the output we want? Let's do visuals. A lot of text was boring.
Logo.
Just the logo. Logo, I'm not sure it does. DALI 3 does do text. It does, but it's not always accurate, but let's try it. In which case, can we say suggest a name first? We don't have a name. Yeah. Now we're talking, right? You are a marketing and brand consultant who is also an awesome creative person. Let's do it. I wish there were, but that would be very, very powerful. I tried to be one for several years. I sucked at the marketing part. I was reasonably creative. I want your help with some things. To begin with, could you suggest a name for the game? All right? Okay, cringe alert. Ugh, I wasn't wrong. No, 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 no. Oh, no puns. It's very difficult to not make it do puns. Why? Training data. Exactly. Right? But let's say I'd prefer something without puns. Give me 10 short, crisp names. Better? There are no VI puzzle. There's a pun. There's a pun. Celeb clue isn't really a pun. It's just, it's not bad enough to be a pun. Some stuff there will say, you know, I don't know, gossip, great, fame, phrase. I'm just going to star words. I'm going to take one of these, right? Just for time. But you could iterate more. You know what? Let's just do more. What's the problem? What would we like to see? What would we like to see it to try? More variations along, I like star words. Can we do more variations along that? Classic convergence exercise, right? Some variations it's giving you, right? Star words clash, yeah, SEO gold, right? So let's just take Star words, okay? Or Star words dual or whatever. Let's just pick Star words dual. It is. Thank you. Okay? See that, no? It is only saying it has a great ring to a day. Anyway, sorry for the Tamil. I was like, you suggested it and you're telling me it's awesome. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, bro. Okay, here we go. So, we go with, can you create a game logo for me? Give me 6 variations. Let's try. It's usually better when it's working on one image at a time.
Is it on Dolly?
It is on Dali. Eh? Ah. right? Here you go. There are some options. Does it say Star Worst? I love it. That's a better name. That's actually cool. I would download a name that said Star Worst. I mean, creative accidents, guys. We're building a game right now in which 2 or maybe 3 bugs actually made it into the game as features. I'm not even making this up. We were like, that's actually cool. So, happy accidents. Secret of game designers. Sorry? Yeah, sure, it's just doing some stuff. Now you can iterate. I can say, these are great. But in the interest of time, right? These are awesome. Can you create a game poster? Just look at the speed, right? I'm really not sitting here and iterating much, but if you were actually doing it, you'd be like, yeah, what about instead of the mic, can we have a spotlight? Can we have like a dressing room mirror? Can we have like a couple of characters instead? There's so much you can do. And it's a... Also notice I'm saying this is awesome. Look at that. Look at this. It is super viable. It is super viable. You would have taken at least one day with a really skilled artist to get there. Does anybody use, other than you, has anyone else used it for this kind of thing? Okay, a few of you.
We built our entire brand in a month. Everything.
Yeah? What was the tool set?
We used ChatGPT alongside of the Discord and created all of the images for the website,
Midjourney.
all the text, and on
In
top of
Discord.
that, we were able to sell it to the CEO, who is an angel investor and a Jane, and we had it rewrite the whole pitch specifically for him so that he'd understand what we were trying to drive for. And we're fully sustainable, so we did all this research on how much power that graphics artists use on computers under their desk. It was like, it could power like 1,000 homes just
Yeah.
by running it 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
So we use it for everything.
Yeah.
Built it from scratch.
Amazing. Right? So again, it's, yeah.
No, Discord is for
Midjourney. Midjourney works as a Discord chatbot. So did anybody follow along again? Anybody followed along? What did you get?
I told him create a game for 8-ball pool.
It's not a him.
It's yeah. So it created some 4 options and
Yeah.
gave some name options.
Yeah, there you go. Right? Super cool. And notice it, he's doing it on his phone. You can be doing it like on the plane or, waiting for like a cab or just sitting around or not listening to me doing this workshop or whatever in class, whatever, right? It's so empowering. Amazing.
I tried doing flowcharts and UX mockups. It's not there yet.
No, UX, it's terrible at precise wireframing or any kind of logical stuff. As of today, it'll get there, 6 months.
6
is my
months it'll
bet.
be there.
Yeah. Okay? All right. Cool. Now, in the interests of time, I'm going to run through this next one really quickly, but I suggest a bunch of you, kind of experiment with this. What you can do in certain types of games with the right input, you don't have to write code, you just need to tell it the rules in natural language, and it can create a playable prototype for you in seconds. Right? In seconds. What I'm going to do for this, I'm just going to take 5 minutes to show you what I can do with the most simple prompt. Right? Let's just ask it, let's just say we're creating the simplest form of game, right? Let's say it's a choose your own adventure. Right? You are a game designer. I want you to create a choose your own. Anybody here knows, everyone here knows what choose your own adventure games are? You know those books? Hey, if you want to follow the cat, go to page 28. If you want to follow the lion, go to page 82. They're branching stories. You just make a choice of which path you want to go, and the story will evolve accordingly. What I want to do is I'm just going to create a simple choose your own adventure game because it requires the least input. You can do a lot more complex stuff, and please feel free to play around. Choose your own adventure game. I can play in 5 minutes. It's about some crazy thing. What should the game be about? What should the story be about?
Exploring a mattress factory.
Exploring a?
Mattress factory.
Exploring or exploding?
Choose one.
Exploding sounds better. Making a mattress factory explode. It's like, oh, I think you broke it. Okay, there you go. Right? What do we want to do? The notorious Slip King cop, known for their shady business practices. It's already feeling like a Resident Evil, umbrella cop. Disguise yourself as an inspector and walk through the front door. All right, here we go. What do you want to do? 2 again? We don't know that. Man, you guys are predictable. If I was game designer or product manager, I'll know now what your pattern is. I would have guessed that if I was a good product manager, which I'm not, so. So I didn't give any instructions. I could have given, make me die if I take a wrong choice, and make it more thing. You can actually do a lot of stuff. I just, in the interest of time, because we've got a really brilliant data analysis session going up for which we're going to need some time. So I just kind of breeze through. But what I want to open up is the fact that you can rapid prototype. Like that. If I want to create a branching adventure, I want to test the narrative structure for my game, I want making an RPG, and I want to see what kind of dilemmas work. You can prototype in seconds. Right? And that is extremely powerful. It's extremely powerful because imagine your testing and prototyping loop. Right? And you can even preload, you can say that this is meant for kids. Or
And if it was multimodal, you can also get the images for each of the scene.
Give us an image of the factory exploding.
it remembered, right? Maker? Nammur George Lucas. Enna vision. Are you with Rovio? Just curious. A toy out of? Like a what kind of toy though? A toy of what? I am just going to say toy out of this and see what the training data tells me. Last thing we're doing, I would highly encourage everybody to just play around with this kind of thing, do it, you know. I can't wait. I just love it when you do crazy exploding mattress factory. I'm gonna carry that one with me for a long time. It just sometimes it glitches out on text when it's, but if you iterate, it'll get there, right? I mean, yeah. All right, great. So highly encourage people to kind of try prototyping ideas. You can do a lot. You can create a lot. So and I'm here. Find me if you want to kind of help. You want me to help you explore more. I'm available. I'm always happy to help and so on and so forth. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it over to Ishwar, who does the serious PM stuff. I just do the random nonsense.
Okay, so how many of you here use Firebase Analytics? Any game developer are using it? Probably Zynga guys are using their own internal, right? So basically, it's so frustrating to get things done when you're using Firebase and stuff like that, right? One of the things that writing a basic query itself is such a tedious process, right? To get to the first version of working query with data used to take me like six hours, right? So we'll just start with something like that, right? So there is this. So I'm going to use ChatGPT 3.5 and show what you can do with just that itself, and then I'm going to blow your mind with 4. I mean, not me. It's going to blow your mind with 4, right? Okay. So first is I'm going to ask it to write a SQL, right? And I'm just going to use the workflow, which is just Alt Tab, copy paste. That's it, right? That's the workflow to get to what we want, right? So let's say I'm going to say. So if you don't know SQL, you can read through all of this, but it's given me all the events, right? So I'm just saying I want the count of users also along with it. And it says, so if you know the SQL, right, if you know the databases, it's taking user ID. So we are using a public database from Google for just learning SQL purposes. So because of that, there is nothing in the user ID column. I know that, so I'm going to just ask use user, I don't know the spelling. So it's used the proper spelling and it's given you all the date, name, event parameters. You can copy this, go to a SQL query, Open a new tab, right? So it says your invalid project ID. So your details, right? So if you are earlier, right, if you're Google searching, you'll probably reach at the same place. There will be a template where they will say, okay, you replace your table name with this, with that, and everything else, right? But because it's ChatGPT, it can remember context, right? So this is the Firebase public project is the project ID, right? And this is the dataset ID, and this is my table name, and this is the date range, right? So I have everything. So I'm just going to copy that, and then I put it in ChatGPT. So if you look at it, I'm not writing anything even in the SQL editor. I'm doing everything on the ChatGPT so that it remembers all the changes. So if I'm keeping on changing and adding different things to the query, all it does is it just gets the thing from that, right? So I can just copy the code, go here, Control A, Control V. This does not have the event need, it does not have event parameter and value. So you go back to this. It gave you all the results, right? And this, if you are sitting and writing, actually this is better because I've trained it probably. Because when I was trying a couple of days before, it found out that there is some structure issue, and my BigQuery version does not support it, so it went into a JSON issue and everything it figured out and then gave me. If you look at the conversation I had with it, it's completely different, right? It's the same question. Basically what it did, I just kept adding the errors here, right? It's a group by, and it used structure, right? I apologize, grouping by structured expression is not allowed in BigQuery.
Error you're copying and pasting.
That's all.
Firebase.
Error I'm copying and pasting here, right? And then this is it. It says it's not allowed, so I will change it, right? And then it changed. So basically, previously, if it says, if I'm using the Stack Overflow workflow, I'll say, okay, I'll come here, okay, it's not struct. So what are the other options, right? I would not even have thought of JSON, right? It said JSON is a better approach, I'm using JSON, right? And then it used JSON, and then there is a JSON object aggregate not found. It says, I apologize for the confusion, it's not available in all versions of BigQuery, right? I can use something else, and it did that other one, right? And then I said there is something else. Then it said, apologize for the oversight, I need to concatenate few things, and then did it. And then it had invalid structure, right? Then it corrected the invalid structure. Then I said, okay, so it had time, so I said, give me date. So it tried to extract the date, there was an error, right? And then it said, apologize, event timestamp is stored as an integer, so I will use it, right? And then I said, okay, earlier I had given 7 days, so I said 30 days, I said I need only 7 days from the start. So it's created an SQL with changing the date correctly, include only 7 days from the start. Right? And then I had an error of timestamp overflow. It said it appears the event timestamp in your field set is microseconds instead of seconds. Right? To handle this, change it. So all of these things I don't have to think. It just did it, but I need to verify. So I verified. I spent some time to verify that. But if you know, right, this whole thing, this whole stumble that I would have encountered to get to the data would have been like a half a day project just to get to the data, right? It was done in about 6 minutes. Me explaining what I'm doing, right?
And think of how that might stack for more complex queries.
Exactly. Exactly, right? So, and another thing is the ChatGPT 4, right? So, ChatGPT 4 has this advanced data analytics, right? And also one more thing, ChatGPT also has this custom instructions where you can go and say what the ChatGPT should behave as, right? You can give what you are So you can give you instructions saying that I am a data scientist or I'm a product manager. You can give your information, and then you can also say what it is, right, as a context. And you can save these. Currently, they don't have profile. I'm pretty sure it's coming in a month or two, right? They will have profiles of what ChatGPT can be, so it becomes easier for it to assume any of the minion roles, right? So those are the things that you can do, right? I'm just going to upload a file that I already downloaded, right? Which is the similar data that we have. Same data actually, only 7 days.
This is a Excel sheet or a CSV? Or
This is just downloaded as a CSV. Okay. Yeah, I can open that up. If I might have. And this is also JSON data, by the way. If you are actually working with this data, that is going to be even more pain. So it has event name, it has event date, event timestamp, and then the parameter of events. So this is JSON of what is the event name and value. It has a series of different parameters and it has a unique user there. Okay, so it's fairly not structured. If you have to do it, you'll have to figure those things out, right? So I've put it here. Yeah, I don't have to care about spellings.
yeah, that's just habit. Just a bigger wrong spelling. It doesn't require correct spellings or grammar. It does not even recognize.
So I have not told anything. I just opened a new window, gave it this. Data set seems to be tracking event, possibly related to advertising rewards with timestamp. Okay, so now it has, okay, these are the things, right? So I'm just going to ask what are the events, right? What events does it have? Right? I don't know the data also, but it says rewarding ads, life cycle events, level completion, and purchases, right? Okay, I'm just curious. If you guys want to ask any question, I'm just going to ask some random question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
We'll ask that question also.
It's the power of natural language, right? I don't speak data, but I can upload a sheet and ask it normal questions, and it will tell me. It's really powerful. I've used this to analyze my personal finances, by the way, from HDFC Bank. That sheet comes with some something. It says there seems to be some fields like that. Then I said that might be just a line separator. Go to the next line and see. It actually went there and passed the sheet correctly. Then I said, like, where am I spending a lot of money? How much did I spend on rent in the last 6 months and stuff like that? It actually, it's remarkable. Best $20 a month that you will ever spend, dollars a month that you would ever spend.
So level 27 is the most failed levels.
There you go.
Can you show us errors? Most common error.
Most common?
Error.
Error. What do you mean by error?
There was a field for error over there.
Oh, okay. There was an event called error. It represents 13. The error code is 13.
You asked for the most, it said no, 127 times. Okay, ask 127, how many unique users?
Yeah, how many unique users?
Yeah. This is super empowering to people like me. Because I don't know how to go there and read the sheet and thing, but I know the questions I want to ask, right?
So that's what. That's why I asked this question, because it's aggregate data. We found only unique users out of the events, right? So I asked who are those users. So it says the data set does not appear to contain explicit user identifiers that would allow us to list individual users who encounter the most common error. There is a user identifier column in the data set. I can use that. If there is a user identifier column, then we'll have to pull it. We will not pull the
That's
data.
why it's a minion, right? Because you would, if you had some data analyst on your team, you would ask them questions in natural language. You'd be like, hey, go and find me the unique users. That's the power. It's the ability to talk to machines in natural language, right? And it gives me a skill I do not have. It allows me to use a skill that I do have, which is ordering people around, to do things that I don't know how to do. And if I ordered someone around to do this, assuming I had people who care to be ordered around and don't quit, they will take some time. Every product manager ever, okay, I'll give it to you in the afternoon. Right? Because it takes time.
Which one? No. So the first step you did was extracting the sheet. Correct. You expect the analytics guy to give the sheet, or you want to do it yourself? No, that you can write
Depends
yourself.
on who you are, no?
So query is also not going to be tough. Let's say we'll go back here, right?
Even there, natural language I can use, no, Ishwar? I can say, hey,
Yeah.
I don't know BigQuery, I don't know Firebase, but I want to do this. Help me. You see, it's a very good way to learn, because otherwise I'll have to go to Google, refer to some documentation, read some textbook and figure it out. Here it'll take me step by step, then I'll be like, is this it? Or can you generate the code for me? Okay, paste it in. Then like Ishwar said, just copy paste the error message and it's correcting the code. It's the workflow, right? It's amazing.
Give me a query to find a funnel with 3 events with specific parameter and value, right? Usually what happens, PMs, analysts at some point in time in their life would have written a query for it. PMs will save that as a treasure trove, keep changing these values and do it, right? So it gives you the same template. And you need someone to verify it. And I have verified a lot of these things. So if the query is correct or wrong, right? Because it's still not factually correct, right? So even here, even with the other one, right? We had a CSV data summary, right? Where is it? Yeah. So this one, so everything that it is doing, you can see the work. It's using Python. So the thing that I would advise when you are using this thing is learn Python. It's needed for product managers. Don't depend on analysts. So if you know all of these things, it's very easy for you to check the accuracy of the data. So I'm more confident about a lot of this data because I actually had seen the work of it, what it is doing, how is it taking the data, so that I know there's no mistake being made, right? So you need to verify, right? If you know something, it's better to use that for that. Or if you find very counterintuitive finding, right, then double check. If it's all intuitive, then you can still go ahead with it. But if it's counterintuitive, right? So here, how was a level 27 difficult, right? So it's the difficulty is so much, right? But I'm also worried whether, level 27, this is only counting the number of failures. I don't know whether attempt on level 27 is also high, right? So basically, what is the win rate? Can you? So we didn't say how do you find level fail. So it found out how to level win rate, it found out level complete, level end. So if you look at it, actually level 27 is not the highest difficulty level, right?
And the thing is that, like, it's also really useful for if you're not experienced or you don't understand these things instinctively. Remember that it's also capable of telling you, hey, how should I calculate win rate? How did you calculate that is the hardest level? Just ask. And it'll say, I did this, and then either your bullshit detector goes off and you're like, but that's not the way you calculate it. Or you say, are you sure that's the right way to calculate it? And you could get to, even without knowing anything, you could get to more accurate analysis. Because data is one thing and analysis is quite another, right? I've actually had a PM tell me, like, can you tell me something about the players who have, completed player level 11? Yes, all the players who have completed level 10. Like, that is technically correct, but it is entirely useless, right? Yeah. So, analysis is very different from just looking at data. And you can become a better analyst by actually using the AI itself to teach you and explore and bounce ideas off, right? It's incredibly powerful.
By the way,
Dude, this would have taken me 1 week
me 2 weeks.
to understand. You 2
Definitely,
days.
because to verify
Sure.
all of this. Right? So basically, I asked it to calculate engagement data, right? We don't even know. So it said, okay, engagement needs, you need session length, session time, or user actions, right? I said the level data is engagement data, because I saw there's some level events, right? So it said understood, right? And then it figured out level attempts, failure, completion, progress over time. And with data in that, it's calculating total number of attempts at each level, sum of success and failure. That's how it's calculating, because there's no direct this thing. Assessing the failure rate of each levels, failures divided by total attempts, observing the overall completion rate of each level, mapping out user progression through the level. Right? So now obviously the PM question, right?
I like that it's telling you what it's doing by default.
Correct.
Let's check if there is purchase or revenue data in the data set. If it exists, we'll analyze it. This contains this. It's actually explaining what it did, right? Not rather than just spitting out the result, which is actually, again, pretty powerful.
Yeah. If you read it and if you actually go through the code, it's super, super powerful.
Crazy good.
Gives you the answer, right? Revenue generation at level granularity typically requires a detailed tracking setup where each and I want to show something else.
Hey, there's a warning, Ishwa. You're seeing that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it came there and it didn't go out. What was it? I forgot.
So it's actually looking for just that string.
Yeah, the board data, it looks everywhere.
They apparently want record video, so you have to speak into the mic.
Can we do something along the lines of, let's say a particular level is buggy. Users are complaining that it's buggy and we need data to validate it. So if we just give that as a prompt, just...
Sorry, can you repeat? Sorry.
Yes. So let's say users are complaining that a particular level is buggy.
Yeah.
And we need data to validate whether or not their concerns are true.
Correct.
So can we do that using
Yeah,
this?
sure.
If you have the data, if you're tracking something that tells you that this level is buggy, let's say start to completion ratio or game crashes, you have to have an event.
Yeah.
That is, then you can, yes, whatever event you're tracking, you can get that information and analysis through natural language through the GPU.
So I'll ask this. Level 27 had maximum failure rates. And I'm asking if is there any error in level 27?
In fact, you could say, hey, users are try that, no?
Huh.
Users are complaining that level 28 is buggy. How might I go about investigating this? That itself it will tell you. It will tell you what you need to do. Do you have some events for this? If you don't have events, I can't track, so please put this event into the game so that I can give you that info. It will even tell you what to do, right? Boom, right?
I didn't do the first one in the same window, so it would have used that. So here we'll again have to give the context and everything else.
Hi, can we give a prompt to identify inconsistency in data? Sometimes the data is wrong, and how can we identify that?
Yeah. Let this finish this query. I just gave the context to find the actual query that will get this
Right.
question answered.
Right.
I'm not verifying now because I'm doing it on screen, but ideally I will check the query. So it has all the level 27 data. You said that was the complaint, right? Oh, sorry.
Can you see the answer to your question there? See how powerful that is, right?
No, I think this saves minimum, what do I say? This one analysis saved 2 weeks of my time.
Yeah.
The same thing if I have to do, it's very iterative. Every time I see a problem, then I'll have to go find answers. There are no errors. So that's your answer. So you'll have to figure out other places, right? Someone had a different question, right? Is there any inconsistency in the data? So we actually went very unstructured. So I will actually show you how to do it structured to get much better insights. I have a sample I can share. So it's checking out all the anomalies, right?
That's crazy, dude. It's a PMing 101 course while answering your
All the
question.
questions.
Yeah.
Right? And just be careful about data that you share. A lot of your companies have data policies. So just last week they've announced enterprise plan. So you should ask your company to give you
Yeah,
that.
don't upload your revenue data to public chat GPT.
I'm
Just
using
saying.
public data here, so that's why it's okay. Right?
Like
So
somebody will lose their job.
So to answer your question, no missing values, no duplicate records. There are event pattern, typical, what we expect in a data set with this thing. Data types for each column is appropriate. Numerical outliers, unique user fields seems to be a count. The max value is 3 and minimum is 1. This does not indicate any significant outliers. The distribution appears to be narrowly centered around 1, which suggests that the most events are associated with a single user. This is a summary. There don't appear to be any major inconsistency in the data. The data looks clean with respect to checks performed.
I have a question.
And just look at that, right? It's telling you that you may not be tracking, your current logging system may not be tracking the issue that is your users are seeing, right?
But it is doing it on the second data, by the way. It's not doing it on my first data. I said do this analysis on the first data, but it's using the latest file.
I have a question.
Yes.
So with this kind of ChatGPT workflow, how often do you see ChatGPT make errors and then you spend the next 30 minutes debugging the errors that ChatGPT made using ChatGPT?
I've discovered as a process of this presentation, so I've not used it extensively, but whatever I've used it, I've looked at the code, perfect. The Python code is really good. I have not found any errors that it has done. Right? In fact, it would take me a lot more time to verify everything that it said and then to catch errors. I think if you find an error, it's easy to rectify. But finding errors, you need to know the Python, you need to know how it's structuring. But it's all very, very, very good structuring. Like it's not convoluted code. If you know Python, if you know pandas, how many of you here knows Python? Yes. Pandas, perfect. Right? So for you, this is a gold mine because this will save months of work in hours. Right? That's the thing, right? I'll show you a structured exploration, right? Like how would you structure this whole thing, right? The same data set that I uploaded, I actually did a structured analysis. I just want to show you guys that because it came a completely different finding. Right? I said summarize the data. It summarized it. Here's a summary of the data and categorical data, and it said explore different types of interaction. It said all the interactions are in event. So I said, okay, explore different types of interactions done. It said these are the instructions. They are either advertising engagement, gameplay milestone, app cycle events, or purchase event. I said, what is the relationship between advertising event and app life cycle event? Right?
If they have a really good data taxonomy, you can reverse engineer a game from here.
Yes.
You can put up the data and say what kind of game this is, what is their tuning, and make another one. Just like, don't do it. It's illegal.
No, that is exactly what has happened,
yeah.
right? Look at this, right? Can you summarize gameplay behavior, right? So it summarized the everything, and then it said quick play is this much, and then quick play is the most popular. High engagement.
Quick play is the most popular in every game that has quick play. Like, just absolutely. That's in. I think that's just baked in. It's
baked
not
in,
even.
right?
You don't even need to look at data for that.
High engagement, and the success rate of quick play event is much higher than fail. Right? So it went in and it went into a parameter. So I was just digging deeper. It went into a parameter called board size distribution. So this game has board. It has small, medium, and large boards. And it figured out the standard deviation of each one of them. Then I said explore more. That's all. Whatever it says, I said explore more. Give me 1 second. I'll finish this and then take the question. Right? And then it says when it explored more, it itself designed success metric as success rate, failure rate, and all of this. I didn't tell any of these things. I just kept saying explore more, explore more, explore more. Right? So success rate is 35% for large, for medium board is 63%, and small board is 75%. So immediately I got a curiosity. Okay, I don't know where do we make money, right? So I said, can you explore the relationship between boards and payments, right? I didn't bias anything, right? I just said, what is the exploration, right? It came back and said, board L has very low positive correlation with in-app purchases. Board M has a medium moderate positive correlation. Board S has a very low correlation. indicating potential relationship where gameplay is associated with higher number of in-app purchases. Right? Can you explore ad data? Then it started exploring the ad data over it. Right? And then I said, can you draw gameplay mode versus points in a gap? It did how many points people are earning in different gameplay mode. Right? Is there any currency data? Right? I just checked, hey, is there a currency data? It didn't find currency data, but it found value which is numeric. Then it said, hey, this is it. Can you sample the data? So it said there are many things this value can have. So I said, okay, can you show me a sample so I can check if it's currency? So it showed me the sample. I said, show me the records where value is not a currency. Right? It said the value has to be not null and is integer. Everything is in that format. There is no format where it is either null or not integer. Thank you. Can I remove this data from ChatGPT? It said yes. So you delete your data, it goes away. And it itself deleted the file.
Boom.
Right? So if
Just
you
look at
go
that.
by that structure, you can actually get much deeper into so much of analysis. This I did in 20 minutes, could never have done in 2 weeks. Yeah, you had a question.
Can we make it give us an anecdote of, let's say, something like who was the most active player and what
Yes,
was
yes.
their journey in the game?
You need to give that data. The data that we have given is the aggregated data. So it's smaller data. You need to feed data. I think there are limitations on how much data you can feed. So what I would do in that case is I would take a small sample of users. I'll change the user ID, obfuscate the user ID and then set the data because the data privacy of your user, you are liable. Right? So you should remove the user ID. That's why we are using user pseudo ID. So user pseudo ID can be used. So use the user pseudo ID and then you upload the data, it should be able to do it. Very easily it should do. And send it a small data set and then use all the queries, all the code, all the Python it sends. Use that on bigger data sets on your own program rather than uploading all the big data there. It can do it on the small research, but the whole logic it's giving out in terms of code. So you take the same code and you can put it here.
Just to confirm that it's deleted the data, can you go and ask it another question and see if it...
It's already timed out. We'll delete this data and then we'll go back.
It times out like number of tokens, queries, time.
Time.
Okay, so you have a limited time for each this thing.
Because it loads all the data in its
Right.
engine, it cannot keep it. It throws away.
No, hey, Isho, just say, oh no, damn, I forgot, sorry, you shouldn't have deleted it, can you tell me this? Just like, let's just try that, no? Can you undo it? Just ask. GG.
Yeah, it had a QA. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, like this
Hey,
is.
I have one question. Can you go to one of those things where it still has the information and say, can you explain this to a 10-year-old?
Yeah, I'll just put that. It doesn't have. I'll just add the data.
No, like any older like chat, it doesn't have to go dig into the data again.
Oh.
It just has to look at the previous responses. Can you summarize all this and explain it to a 5-year-old or a 10-year-old? It's actually explaining ad monetization to a 5-year-old, man.
Wow.
Look at that. Where kids like to watch a little puppet show and after the show they'll get a golden ticket. Holy crap, right? You got to know what to ask. Just dig deep. Don't be conventional. Ask crazy things. That's where the magic is, right?
Yeah, but definitely look at the Python code. Right?
Python code will be used. It's all accurate. No, why you have to look at it?
Huh?
You just said it's all accurate, superb.
So far, I didn't come across the error, but
Fair
if
enough.
you guys are taking business decisions, fixing level 27 where it's making money.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's super important, and that's the theme, right? Don't use a business plan generated by AI. Don't do any high stakes thing. Considering what AI does as finished work, it's 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. It is not your 1.0 in any circumstance, except if it's like, I don't know, some email. Even that, it's better to check. It can be high stakes, right? Just it's super important to just remember that always, what you just said.
Cool, that's it. Is there anything else? Any other questions? How many of you are going to subscribe to GPT-4? Awesome.
You should take a cut, no?
Yeah, we should take, at least I should get a free account.
Damn it. Referral. They should totally do a referral. Okay, any questions, folks? We're out of time, but we can take like a couple of questions, I guess.
Yeah. Not just related to this, right? The whole thing.
Yeah.
So what other tools as a PM, you guys use apart from
No,
ChatGPT?
Notion is really good. Notion AI is really good. Good with brainstorming. So it has prompts to generate ideas. So sometimes I don't like the chat interface where I have to treat it like a person, because I also tend to treat it with respect. So sometimes I just want idea flow. So for your own internal brainstorming for features, all of those things, Notion is good. It's very good at generating checklists of things that you need. Like, I'm going to review this spec. What are my checklists? Right? It will give me those things that it needs to. So I like Notion. There are a bunch of specific AI tools, but ChatGPT wins in terms of productivity. Everything else is like very niche, something that's extra. I'll probably curate and probably share it. But the real crux is this, right? Because this saves like weeks, right? You cannot beat that.
Yeah, by and large, for most like tasks at this level, GPT, if you have GPT-4, just covers all of it. It's a really good generalist. They're adding specialist features at a blinding rate. But we do use other specialist tools. We use Canva for like animation and stuff like that. They have a lot of AI integration into Canva now. We use Audio Pen for audio note taking, and you can take notes. You can just blabber rambling nonsense, and it'll write the note into a nice, crisp, clean thing and save it, and it can aggregate notes and summarize and stuff like that. Audio Pen. We use a bunch of even for things like sometimes when we're doing image generation for stuff, I'll do the same prompt in DALL-E 3 and in Midjourney and in other in ideogram, and sometimes it can give you very interesting and different results. It's better brainstorming. So bunch of stuff like that.
So some of these you can explore. There is this UI Zard, which is which for UI, that seems to be really good, but it's not for game UI. So that's why I didn't present it. So if you're prototyping any product or something, it gives you Figma output by text input. You can say, hey, these are the features I need. This is what I need, and it gives you a complete one.
I mean, GPT-4, if its vision feature is remarkable. If you draw a relatively neat flowchart on a whiteboard, you can take a picture of that, upload it to GPT-4. I mean, if you're using GPT-4 on mobile, you can just take a picture of that. And there have been some people who've done, I've tried it. It can actually generate, I say create this into a design document or write the code for it, and it's actually doing stuff like that. So it's remarkable. I wish we had the time to show you, but maybe I can show you afterwards.
So another thing very interesting is something called Perplexity. So Perplexity, it's a browser toolbar. So if you're reading a large article, you don't have to read it. You can install Perplexity, and then you can ask questions on that page context.
Even Bing Chat does that by default. Microsoft Copilot does that.
Yeah, I've not used a lot of Microsoft. So
yeah. Oh, I think we got time for like maybe one or two more. I find ChatGPT is far superior in most cases, but Bard is better for research.
But this
I don't get commissions from anyone much. I have no money.
So one of the things that I struggle with ChatGPT is it gives such convincing, confident answers that...
Just like real PMs.
Right. I've been trying to figure out that when it gives an answer, whether it can support it with citing references, but I've never been able to.
No, it will sometimes try. If you use Bing, ChatGPT with Bing, or just use GPT-4 on the Bing chat, it will. but it'll give you sometimes utterly wrong answers. Double down on it. I'll tell you, I'll show you my chat when we catch up after this, right? It once said Anand Ramachandran and Rishi Oberoi founded Photon Tadpole Studios together and created Chota Beam game.
Next.
So I asked it, I pinged Rishi immediately. I said, Maza, did you include me on the cap table? No. But it then said, I said, are you sure? I think you're mixing this up. And it said, no. Look, on the Photon Tadpole website, it is clearly shown. And it gave me a link to the Photon Tadpole website, which has nothing of the sort, because it's not true, obviously. Then it said, I said, are you sure? And then it says, here's an article from Animation Express that talks about how Anand and Rishi founded Photon Tadpole and created Chota Beam game randomly. And I click the link, it provides a link. I click the link and go read the article, and it's just about the Chota Beam game. It's about some random different guys. And I ask it over and over again, are you sure? Are you sure? And it says, yes, yes, it doubles down. So it's really weird. But look, it'll get fixed. Like I said, right? It's in its infancy today. It's really in its infancy. It'll get fixed. It should get fixed. But right now, not really. You will have to manually double check everything.
Yeah, I think you should only ask it things that's something that you know. Right? I know it can add some skills, like art it can drive, but art everybody can critique, right? If you cannot critique its output, will be very hesitant to use AI in that place. If I can critique an output, then I can trust it.
Yeah, correct. So it's usually, at least where it is now, it's not good for anything that requires high levels of precision. Per se, out of the box, even in art. If you need a very precise output, it's not currently equipped to give you that. It's more like, hey, it's creative. It's like, hey, again, 0 to 0.8, 0.9. It is not getting you to 1.0. Like I said at the beginning of the talk, if you must take away one learning from here, it is that. It is only to 0.9 as it stands today. Because see, end of the day, right? And AI is not going to take responsibility, and it's about responsibility for decision making. That you got to take. I can't go up to my investor or my boss or whoever and say, no, AI told me. Be like, what were you doing? You have to take the responsibility. That's why you have to take the 1.0 step. It has to be on you, not on the AI.
But usually, right, when you're working itself, you perform two actions. You actually perform the actor and the critique. Both of these actions are done by you yourself, right? So a lot of the time you get tired by the time you come to critique. So you don't do a good job of it. But if you work with the AI, the only job you are doing is critique, right? And you do a good job of it. So output should actually ideally become better.
Yeah, that's very profound.
Sir, I just have a question.
We don't have a next session, so if you want, we can answer questions.
I have no problem.
Yeah, if the session is over, no other.
Oh, there's
session
no
is
other
happening
session.
here.
Okay.
No other
folks,
session in this hall. So
I
if
mean,
you
we're
guys
not holding you
want,
hostage. If you want to go have lunch, please go
Please
ahead.
go,
But we are
free.
happy to answer questions for some more time. Yeah.
Sir, I just have a question. During your analysis, you were asking some different questions. So it's like branching out to different things, and you want to go back to the original point. So is there any visual other tool like where you can actually branch out the chart into different branches and something like that? Have you come across any tool like that?
No, it does. So basically, it has different types of graphs, right? So it's using the plot of whatever it is already doing, right? So you can ask it to say, okay, can you give me the decision tree until now, analysis tree until now? It should be able to do it. Yeah, I did the same for flow chart. That's why I'm saying it confidently that
No,
you can do.
that's what you're saying. You do at the end of everything, but
You
I'm
can
saying
do it. At the beginning itself.
Actually, while doing it, like visually, the UI itself of the tool, is there any other tool where you can branch out your chat so that it's more manageable, like when you're doing complex analysis, you know?
Probably that's the next evolution, because once you start using it, then you'll need even more simplification on top of it.
Yeah. Or we can use the ChatGPT API to build our own tool probably.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
The thing with AI, the thing to understand is the point of this whole movement is to make things easier and easier and easier. That is what it's fundamentally driving. So anything that's complicated today will become easier by default, because that is the evolution of the whole mental model and the whole ethic of what is going on here, right? That is what is happening. It is simplification of interactions with machines. It is the simplification of instructions to machines and the simplification of controlling output from machines. At its fundamental core, that's what's happening. Everything else is technical. right? So anything that's hard today will become easy tomorrow, by default, unless nobody cares about it.
Have you start seeing any games which are using this AI
Yes.
in real time? Like not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. There are a lot of, there's a Skyrim mod that is using GenAI for NPC dialogues and quest generation. I just downloaded something on my mobile which said, I don't know, Chat GPT Quest or something like that. Of course, there you go, SEO, something like that. You'll see clash of AI of kings of GPT. It's going to happen.
You can even upload the full data and then say what are the issues. If I'm having retention issues, what should be my roadmap?
Yeah.
Right?
No,
you can mix with
correct.
whatever you have learned, right? From data, you can now go back to strategy.
Yeah, and there's no reason not to try. If it fails, you'll have to do the work manually anyway. But just try. You never know.
Hi. So all the images that have been generated on Midjourney or DALI, it's taken again from a training data, right? So can I use these new images generated on Midjourney without worrying about a copyright infringement in future? Is it copyright safe?
You can never worry not about retroactive punishment, because theoretically anybody is capable of tomorrow some rule, some big company will say, no, you have to pay like Unity, right? It happened to us literally a month ago. Oh my God, you're successful. Now you got to pay me for everything till the beginning of time. I used a T-Rex model, so you have to pay me 65 million years of royalty or some nonsense, right? So, dude, corporate greed, there's no accounting for. Okay, that I can't say anything. I mean, apologies if I'm offending anybody in the IGDC ecosystem, but not really. But at the moment, it is a legal minefield. It's very, very, very hard to navigate. I can't give you an answer at the moment you're okay, because they're already putting controls and taking responsibility, saying, like for creating this, right, I said minions and stuff, it said we cannot create images of minions. But I can create an image of something that looks like it. So in fact, I was saying, if you were there at the talk earlier, I said, give me smoking a cigar, and it said, I will not do cigar. So there are people putting in controls right now, and hopefully that will cover the legal aspect of anything that makes it through the system and lands up at your thing. It should be okay to use. I don't think you need to worry too much about you being accountable for it at the moment.
Like a starting point, and then you iterate from there.
It's a complicated question to answer, but the brutally honest answer is, if you're really small, nobody cares. If you're really big, you probably have big lawyers protecting your ass. If you're in the middle, that's where you worry. All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. It's been great fun doing this for you guys. If we're around, Ishwar's around, I'm around, just get in touch with us. If we're both very excited about GenAI. As you could have seen, we were like two kids playing around with stuff on stage. It just got an... I'll tell you a story. Ishwar just kind of called me and said, would you like to do something about GenAI for product? I was like, GenAI, yeah, product management? No, not really. And then I was like, why not? And let's go out and do it and have some fun. And here I am. And thank you for coming. Really, really enjoyed doing this for you guys.